Hey everyone, Luke here with Guardian Fleet Safety. Today we're checking out the all-new 2025 redesigned Chevy Tahoe PPV. There's some cool new stuff in this vehicle and some stuff you haven't seen before. Let's check it out. One of the first things you're obviously going to notice here on the new 2025 Tahoe is the redesigned front end. The bones and the structure of the vehicle did not change, so essentially this is just a facelift. If you're going to be putting a push bumper, pit wraps, headlight loops, that type of thing on this vehicle, it's really going to depend on what brand you're using on whether you're going to have to switch parts or not. Most likely with the Satinas, you are going to have to go in and buy the new 2025 Tahoe ones. Weston is keeping theirs the same, and I believe ProGuard is keeping their stuff the same as well. But you can see basically that you got this new front end. Again, the bones are the same in the back. It's just a facelift, but you got the new headlights, and then you have the new high beams in here that are kind of almost like an LED projector style light instead of the LED chipboard that the previous generation Tahoes had. So Chevy retained the factory headlight flasher on the new 2025 Tahoes, just like previous generation. You ground out the trigger wire in the back or in the console, and you get that high beam back and forth wig-wag light. As you can see here, and it's pretty effective, cheap warning light. That's not an option that you ordered, that is a standard feature, both that and the taillight flasher. Okay, so with this being an all LED setup now, you know, in previous generations of the Pursuit Tahoe, you had that halogen turn signal bulb here. That's obviously all LED now. So here's a shot of what your turn signals or your four-ways are gonna look like. You're not gonna be able to put any kind of LED hideaway lights in this headlight assembly anymore. It's all LED, it's all sealed up. You know, the days of kind of drilling your 1-inch hole and popping in a hideaway are gone. So just anticipate, again, not being able to add any kind of undercover lighting into any of these headlight assemblies pretty much moving forward on this. Okay, so here in the interior of the vehicle, obviously the biggest change is this really large infotainment system screen that you have here. And it's really on par with civilian model vehicles. I mean, outside of the rubber floors and the Pursuit tires, you would not think you're driving a police vehicle. Again, the bones of the seats and the console have stayed the same with the exception of the front here. There's obviously all the, you know, Havas, Gamber Johnson, Troy, all of those are gonna have a new cutout to meet up to this dash because that's different. But the bones, the frame of the car have stayed the same. If you're putting a pedestal mount up off of the passenger seat, or you're putting a center console in here where you're just using like a top plate and a leg kit and not a console that's gonna, you know, mirror the contour of the dash, you wouldn't necessarily need to buy any new products for 2025 Tahoe. So one of the other biggest changes here, obviously we have the new steering wheel, but is this super funky turn signal shifter is what I call it. I'm sure there's a super fancy technical name, but essentially they went away from the pull tab, you know, shifting mechanism to this basically turn signal thing. So when you're driving the car, you know, you're pulling down to put it into drive, you're pushing up to actually go into reverse, and then you're pushing this end button to go into park. Definitely takes some getting used to. I went and drove this vehicle a little bit before this video, and it's definitely a little different. So, and then the other thing is now all of your functions where you used to split it up half over here and half over here on your turn signals, now everything is loaded up on this turn signal. So this is quite a lot going on here with your windshield wipers, your high beams, turn signals, all that kind of stuff. The vehicle did retain the factory ignition override, or safe idle, safe park, whatever you want to call it, where you hold the cancel cruise button for 3 seconds, and you'll get a message that comes up on the screen that basically says you're in secure idle. What that means is that because this uses a fob and not an actual key, you can leave the vehicle running and walk away from the vehicle, and somebody can't just jump in and take off with it. So that is a factory feature. That's not an option you have to order. So again, they give us a freebie there. And again, to activate that, you hold your cruise cancel button down for 3 seconds and you'll see the message pop up on the dash. Okay, so not too much to see here in the back. Again, the bones are the same. The seat is the same. Standard is gonna be that police vinyl. No, it's not leather, as you'll sometimes see on Facebook Marketplace. You can order this cloth, again, if this is gonna be an admin unit or something where, even for resale value, again, pro tip, if you're gonna be putting a plastic seat in this car, maybe you wanna order the cloth, because then when that vehicle comes out of service, you're gonna get a little bit more money for it having a cloth seat to put back in if you're going to be running the the plastic seat while the vehicle is in service. So otherwise, again, we got our rubber floors, we got the trim pieces are all the same. Internally, nothing has really changed, so your cages are gonna stay the same. Door panels are the only things that you may have, depending on whether it's like a Satina TPO door panel. The door panels have changed a little bit. I don't have a firm answer yet on those, on what the status of those is, but most likely plan on door panel covers themselves changing with the 25, just because there was a little bit of again, a facelift with the door panels. Okay, so here on the back end of the Tahoe, there are a couple things that changed. There's some things that stay the same. So this back piece of glass is the same. So your rear, if you have like a sound off signal, you know, rear end force bar or a wheel-in RST, something like that, in this back glass, that should transfer over just fine. That has not changed. The spoiler has not changed, and these D-pillars have not changed. So if you have some vertical D-pillar lights, those should be totally fine to switch over. Obviously what you're seeing here is a new taillight, okay? This is the factory taillight flasher that's going on right now. It is a little weird. Your video's not freaking out a little bit. The timing on the brake and the reverse is a little awkward. So yeah, you don't need to post a comment. Well, post a comment anyways, but kind of the same thing as we were talking about on the front end. This is an totally encapsulated, sealed taillight now, so you're not gonna be able to like drill this out and put vertexes in there. I mean, you can, but you're gonna have a bad day. So everything's LED now. Don't need any vertexes, hideaways, undercovers, that type of thing. They're just not gonna be able to get put in these taillights anymore. So one of the other big things, obviously that's new, is, I guess you would call this the exterior hatch on this. It is slightly different than it was in previous generations. Again, the functionality is the exact same as far as how it opens up and everything. You got your button here. It's just kind of this fascia piece right here that changed. So on the tailgate itself, you know, this part and this part up here is the same, but there's this big plastic piece that can be removed right here, and that's basically what changed. It makes sense. It's an easy piece for Chevy to redesign and give it a kind of a newer look without actually doing much work. So that's there. And then the rear bumper did change a little bit with some of just the additional cutouts in the back there. So again, real minor changes, but overall dimensions and all that are the same. But if you're planning on for decals and stuff too, you're probably gonna wanna look at one before you spec out where those may or may not work, because there are some weird body lines here that the previous one didn't have. So again, just something to consider when you're looking at, you know, putting police equipment in here. Okay, as we move down the side of the vehicle here, the body panels are all the same. The doors are the same. The mirrors stayed the same, with the exception of we now have cameras, 360-degree cameras on this vehicle. So you are gonna have a little camera here on the corner of the vehicle. Now, that isn't necessarily new to the Tahoe, it's new to the police Tahoe. We saw that on the retail versions in the previous generation, right? So, but if you're putting graphics on this vehicle, none of the dimensions have changed. So your 2021 through 2024 graphics kits for your Tahoes are gonna go back on these 25 and newer just fine, no problems. And again, all the pieces up here, strap kit for the light bar, the roof stayed the same. Again, we're really just talking about a quick facelift and some of the new internal features. There's just not a lot on the body that Chevy changed, which makes sense because that's a lot more work to change the body. And again, back here at the C pillar, over to the D pillar, down the side, all this body work is the same. So you're good to go there. Okay, so under the hood here, again, we're not really gonna see any changes. Most of it's just that facelift up front. We still have the 5.3 Ecotech V8 engine. That's the only engine that these come with. Been pretty reliable. And again, it's the only one you get, so whether you like it or not, that's what it's coming with. Okay, so let's talk about the nitty-gritty options. That's the whole point of this video, is there's a bunch of options. Sometimes they're confusing on what exactly they are, and do you need them, do you not even need them? So let's dive into that. First thing, let's talk about the paint color. There are standard paint colors. We're not gonna list them all. There are ones that you're gonna pay for, there are ones that you're not. So just keep that in mind when you're looking through that some of the paint codes are going to charge a premium. I'm going to give you very high level preliminary pricing here, only because it's good to be able to reference that for an option to understand what that might cost. Every single state contract is different. Every dealership can quote you a different price. So certainly don't take the pricing that I'm giving you and run off to the dealership with it. This is just a very general ballpark of what some of these options might run you. So first thing here let's talk about is in the interior of the vehicle, the cloth second row seats. Again, if you're looking to use this as an admin vehicle or something where you're not going to have, prisoners back there pissing themselves, then maybe that's something you want to consider. Your resale value is also going to be higher. The option that you would want to pick there is the A as in Adam 50. That's going to give you your cloth back seats, and that's roughly a $308 option. So let's talk about the safety options here. The PQA option code is roughly $730. That's going to be your forward crash avoidance, your lane keep assist, all those safety options that are going to be using the cameras and the sensors that are already built into the vehicle. Again, some agencies like those, some don't. That's totally preferential towards you, but that is going to run you about $730. Up here on the front, you have the V as in Victor 7.6, so the V7.6 option. It's a $44 option. It's going to be these recovery tow hooks. If you plan on putting a push bumper on, you pretty much don't need to order that because you're basically going to take those away. Especially if you come through our shop, we're going to take them off and throw them in the scrap bin because they don't mean anything. So if you're doing any kind of push bumper on the vehicle, don't even waste your time ordering those because they're not going to help you. Let's talk really quick about tint. The windows are going to come standard tinted, behind the driver, 35% all the way back to the cargo area. Where people get in trouble sometimes on these order sheets is they see this AKP option that says glass solar absorbing, but what they notice is there's a big credit on there and they realize, hey, I'm gonna get $260 back if I order this. I have no idea what it is. Well, what you're ordering is basically to delete the tint on the back of the vehicle, and it's gonna show up with basically see-through glass, just like your windshield, around the entire vehicle. And then you're gonna end up paying us even more money to go back and tint it. So definitely stay away from that. Don't mess with any of the tint options. As it comes, just as you see it, is how it should come, where the window's already behind the driver with that factory tint. Just like the back seats, if you're looking to add a little bit better retail value to the vehicle, the option B30, B as in boy 30, it's a $170 option. That's going to give you basically the color-coded carpet. It's going to be shaggy just like this thing, and it will give you some better resale value. It just basically takes out those rubber floors. So unlike previous generations, what Chevy did this year, which was kind of nice, although I'm sure it's built into the price, is they essentially gave us the 4 extra free fobs as well as the remote start in the standard options. So instead of having to order these extra ones and pay money before, now you get them. And then also they have the remote start built right into the factory fob. So again, if you're up here where it gets cold or stuff, you don't have to worry about putting an aftermarket in there if you don't want. The next option is U, D as in David, and then A, so UDA. And that deletes the OnStar. You're gonna pay $44 for that, so I'm not sure why you would pick that option, but if you do see it on the build sheet, maybe for some type of reason you don't want OnStar in the vehicle because that's gonna come standard, you could order that as an option. Option number VQK is gonna be your splash molded mudguards. So basically the mud flaps that go behind the tires. It is fairly expensive at $220. You can easily buy an aftermarket 4-piece kit for way less than that, but if you want the convenience of getting it with the vehicle, go ahead and order that option. Let's talk about some of the specialty police equipment options here in the vehicle now, which is really kind of getting nitty gritty. So the UN9 option code, it's going to be about $84. That is the radio suppression with ground straps. And essentially what that is meant to do is provide additional grounding throughout the entire vehicle so your radio transmissions don't get interference with them. Depending on where you are, you may or may not need this. We advise our customers not to order this for the simple fact that in today's really high-tech radios, it's just not really needed. Old school days with high-power VHF radios where you key it up and your hair stands up on your neck, that type of stuff, that's really what that was designed for. Nowadays, it's just not needed. So if you want to spend the $84 and get it, great. Really all you're buying is very, very expensive grounding straps that then we have to go in and install, and we don't install them because they're not needed. So don't waste your money, don't order that one. The 6J3 is going to be your pre-wire for your grill lights and your siren speaker up here. Again, that's an $80 option, $81 option. Is it worth it? I guess it depends on who your upfitter is. Again, we tell our customers not to order that because for $81, we can put quite a bit of wire into your car. The other problem that a lot of times run into is customers like, oh, I'm gonna help my upfitter and I'm gonna order all these options and it's gonna make their life easy. No, it actually makes our life quite difficult, and we take that crap out of the car and throw it in the dumpster. So we run all of our own harnessing, and so you're not helping us, and most other shops, you're probably not helping them, especially if you're using a smart siren controller and you're using a lot of dual or tricolor lights where you need a lot of outputs. Those factory ones are basically good for one or two things. So you need a siren speaker, they give you leads for one, and you run two, well then you're already running wires. So don't waste your money on that crap, it's a waste. Furthermore, the one right next down, the 6J4, which is your horn ring circuit, again, that's a $50 option, and it's essentially just giving you a little loop to tag into for the horn. If your upfitter can't figure out how to tag into the horn wire that's given to you in the police wiring already, maybe they shouldn't be touching your squad car. All right, so let's talk about spotlights for a second. You'll notice this car does not have any, and that is on purpose because we don't, I don't want to say allow, we tell our customers not to order the spotlights. There's several reasons for that. But if you want a spotlight, it's 7X3 is your driver's side spotlight. And if you want one on the passenger side, you have to order a dual spotlight kit, which is the 7X2. So the spotlight on this Tahoe, driver's side only, would run you approximately $705, and it's gonna run you about $1,200 to put dual spotlights on there. So why would we tell a customer don't do that? Well, the reality is any professional upfitter should be able to drill in a spotlight pretty easy. They're not that difficult. They are a little time consuming, but they're not difficult. So for $1,200 to have Chevy put in two spotlights, you're paying an extreme markup on that you really don't have to. Also, sometimes the components that you get can be different than what you would get with like an aftermarket. Even though they may both be a unity spotlight, a lot of times GM and even on the Ford side, they're using bulbs and components that are not the same as the retail model that you can order as an upfitter, which the problem comes in when you have an issue with one of those spotlights. Then you have to go back and get high-priced, basically Ford, Chevy, Dodge parts, even though it's a unity spotlight, it's not the unity spotlight that we can order as an upfitter because they change it just a little bit to do that. So, and again, then if there's an issue, how do you warranty that out? Because the reality is spotlights get used a lot, they get worn out, they're a very basic item, but they see a lot of wear and tear. When you have a warranty issue, even though that's covered under the 3-year, 36,000 mile warranty, a lot of people don't know that. If you get a spotlight with the vehicle, the dealerships don't know how to fix it. They don't know how to work on it. It comes back to us. In the long run, you end up just spending more money getting in the first place. So, but probably the biggest reason is the number of options that you can reduce on your vehicle from the factory is going to also reduce the lead time of your vehicle. Because the reality is this is going to get built on the assembly line, and then it's going to get shipped to an aftermarket upfitter to have all these little police options added. So if you can cut that out, that's going to prevent your Tahoe from sitting in a lot with 12,000 others somewhere and basically collecting dust until they get around to drilling in your spotlight. So time and time again, we see these coming in a lot faster than the ones that customers that are ordering that have all these little options on them. Okay, so the next wiring option is the WX7, and that is for radio speakers in the two front driver's doors. There's some agencies that take out their AM FM radio so you can't listen to the music while you're driving around, and they connect the police two-way radio to those speakers. So if you're an agency that plans on doing that or something to that nature, that is an option you would want to order. That's going to be roughly $53. Again, the WX7. But if you don't plan on running any kind of auxiliary audio through the factory door speakers, then again, you're wasting your money and all you're buying is a very expensive, basically pigtail harness. Option number 6, C as in cat, 7, is going to be your traditional red and white police dome light up top. That's going to run you about $150 to have that installed from the factory. Maybe you order it, maybe you don't. Our customers don't because we can put that dome light that's in there as a sound off signal dome light. We can put it in for a heck of a lot cheaper than $150. And then again, we can warranty, we can service it, all that kind of stuff. But again, that's an option where some places, may see value in that, order it if you want it. Moving down the list, the 6E2 and the 6E8 are key to like options. Those are going to be your common key fobs. So basically, one fob is going to access multiple vehicles. They're basically just different frequencies. Those are going to run, that option runs about $22. So again, if you don't want the fob to just work on one, if you have a whole fleet of cars you want to work on, you're going to have to look into those common key options. So let's talk about a couple options that you definitely should be ordering. Would be the 6, N as in Nora, and then 5, so the 6N5. And that is the rear switches inoperable. Basically, bad guy's in the back and he's trying to put the window down, and if you don't order this, the window's gonna go down. So we don't want that. That's a $50 option. Again, that's cheap insurance. And then likewise, the 6N6, the next option down, door locks and handles inoperable, kind of the same thing. It's a $55 option. It basically inops the back doors, so the handles are all there and everything, but bad guy can't open it up and get out. So again, basically for $100, you're inoperating the entire back seat doors. That's a no-brainer. The UTQ option code is the theft deterrent. We typically will have our customers order that. It's a $44 option simply because in law enforcement and the way that you use the vehicle, the alarm, the theft deterrent system can kick in unexpectedly and unwanted times and cause issues, officer safety issues. So although there is a safety aspect of having the alarm in the vehicle, we feel that the greater risk is, having that accidentally trip, in a situation that might jeopardize the officer's safety. So we always advise our customers to not order that option. But again, to order that option, which is going to disable it. But if you didn't order that option, it's going to come with the factory alarm system basically built in. Okay, the 9G as in George 8 option code, that is the daytime running light delete. That is something that you're going to want to order. It doesn't actually delete your daytime running lights, but it allows you to shut them off. So basically on a retail Tahoe, if you're driving around and you shut your daytime running lights off, you're still gonna have your, you may be able to shut the actual light off, but you're still gonna have your running light. This basically allows you to black out the vehicle. So it's only able to be ordered on the police and the SSV trim levels. It's $44. It's kind of a no-brainer. Everybody should be ordering that. As we talked about before, Protect Idle is now standard, so that's not an option you have to order anymore. We talked about that earlier in the video, that comes standard. One of the lighting options here is the rear tailgate lights. That's option T53. And it's the alternating red and blue tailgate lights. And that's a $500 option. Now, again, if I could get away with installing a pair of red and blue flashing lights on a tailgate and make $500, I would take that all day long. Does it save your upfitter some work? Sure. Is it an extremely overpriced option? Yep. Do we see people ordering that? Not really. $500 will get you a lot of light. There's nothing special about those ones besides they just come built in from the factory. So in our opinion, don't order it. But again, if you're looking to spend some money and have a turnkey, somewhat of a turnkey option, that's there. And then the other option that's out there that, again, this just kind of goes back to my example of trying to cut these out, is the KERR or the KER option. The KER option is basically if you order any of the police wiring or the spotlights or anything that, you have to pay an additional $150 to ship through KER Industries to have that work done. So again, when we talked about, like, let's say the spotlights, if you didn't order any options that we talked about here, but you did want a spotlight on here, you would essentially be paying that $750 somewhere in their price tag, and then an additional $150 to ship it through KER to have them put that in. So, again, you're encroaching on $1,000 to put a spotlight in that, we would put in here for significantly less using the same, if not better, components. So those are just some things to chew on there, when you're going through these options list in what maybe has value and what doesn't. Okay, well, there you have it. So what we kind of learned here, and a lot of the manufacturers are doing this, is they're taking a lot of these formerly optional items and they're just making it standard. So the list we went through is actually pretty minimal. Had we done this video a year ago, we would have been talking probably about 3 or 4 times the amount of options. But because they've standardized so much, just like we saw with the Ford PIU, obviously they're upping the price, so they're still making their money, but that's kind of why there's really not too many options to pick from here. But as you can tell from what we talked about, there's still money to be saved and you can still get screwed if you're not paying attention. At the time we're shooting this video, early April 2025, the order bank is closed for the 2025 model year Tahoes. As we've learned through COVID, that's just kind of how it works. It's the order bank opens up, you wait a really long time, and you hope that your vehicle shows up and doesn't get canceled.
But these options and what we're talking about is going to pertain to the 2026 model year, which we should be able to start ordering in September, October of 2025. Again, that's not 100% set in stone. GM is the one that, sets those dates. The message we want to get out to our customers, specifically in Minnesota, is if you have a need for a 2026 police Tahoe, it's really important that you get on the list and start working with Bob O'Hara up at Northland GM because there are still going to be allocations in place. So the days of being able to just order whatever you wanted whenever are done and over with. So you have to get an allocation from GM. So if you're a police department and you get 10 cars a year and you say, I want to order 10 Tahoes, well, GM might say, hey, you've been a long-time GM customer. Yeah, we're going to let you order 10. Or they may say, you know what, this is your first time coming to GM. You've always ordered Dodge. You know what, we're only going to allow you to order 4 Tahoes. Well, we kind of want to get that worked out, not necessarily ahead of time, but we want to get that process started so when order banks do open up, you can get your order in and make sure that your vehicle is getting ordered and not canceled and that you're not at too far at the end of the list. So if you're in Minnesota, at this point in time, what would be the most beneficial for you to do, even though you're looking into 2026 budget year, is to get a hold of Bob O'Hara at Northland GM up in Hibbing, Minnesota. Their information is on the screen there. And reference the contract number that you have there, and he's going to get your information and basically get you on a preliminary list. So when you can actually get these Tahoes ordered, you're going to get notified right away so you can get your order in right away and get that process started so you don't miss out. Again, they don't make endless stream of Tahoes. They don't always necessarily release the number, but typically 20 to 25,000 Tahoes, police Tahoes a year are allowed. So you divide that up by 50 states, it's not a lot. So you want to make sure if you really want a Tahoe, then you get your order in, and that starts with communicating with Bob right away, getting on that list and getting notified. So the second that you can order that Tahoe, all of the steps that are required are already lined up and that order can go right in. So thank you for watching this video. I hope this was informational. Please, if you have any questions, post them below and I will try to respond with as much information as I can. Otherwise, thanks for watching and be safe out there. We'll catch you next time.